right, the boys are back in town. Mike got spiked. I know that's not a great intro, but here we are anyway, guys. Welcome to the show.
How are
That's,
you?
that's not our song.
We will not
Wish
be
it was. I wouldn't be here if that was the case. I'd be in smoking a big cigar and Cabo.
How's things, boys?
Things are all right.
Good here, good here. Yourself?
All good. All good. Delighted to see you coming back together. So, look, we'll start off by that. How did this all come about?
Connell, that's you, buddy.
Okay, yeah. So, approximately 20 years ago, Gig Smart was an organization in Dublin that decided to get bands working together and doing all these fantastic things. And we were lucky enough to be a part of that. And we, along with a lot of other bands under the Gig Smart banner, released an unsigned Irish CD. And the 20th anniversary of that is upcoming. So, one of the organizers, a guy called Niall Steins, fantastic gentleman, contacted me to say, listen, I'm putting on a gig to mark the 20th anniversary. Going to get some of the bands together to play. I know Mike got spiked are spread to the four corners of the globe, but is there any chance that I could open up the show as an acoustic set? And I was like, yeah, no bother. And I got thinking, I was like, hang on a minute. Just so happens by chance, I know that Gavin Maguire is going to be in Dublin that weekend for a completely unrelated reason. So I got on to Gavin, and then I said, listen, any chance Dave Lodge might be in town as well? Like, would the planets align in such a way to make this thing happen? And just pure chance, yes, he is. So I said to Niall, listen, feck acoustic set, the boys are getting back together just for one night only. Just pure coincidence, pure chance, pure luck, pure whatever you want to call it. But that's how this came to be.
Is it definitely a one-night deal, yeah?
Yeah. We're too old to play 2 nights in a row.
So just for the viewers out there, our bass player Barry Monaghan Baz is not actually able to make this call. Unfortunately, he had a bereavement, so he sends his regards at least. So just a little aside as well, the Gig Smart compilation album that was put out got to number 6 in the Irish charts, and it was the first thing that we were on that charted. And then Gig Smart went on after that to, I think, put 7 bands in the top 30, in the Irish charts, and we were one of those bands. So our careers was basically launched by this. So it's a big deal for us, and we felt that it was necessary to pay it adequate tribute, certainly. Because we wouldn't be where we are. I'm sitting in California, just outside San Francisco, in wine country. Do you think that would have happened if there was no Gig Smart? No, it wouldn't have happened. So everything that we have now basically comes from that, and just the amazing lives we lived. We got to, after that top 30 hit single that we had, our album charted in 2005 as well, and then the single first, yeah, and then the album, and then we ended up on the Vans Warped Tour playing with the biggest rock bands in the world, which was weird because we were this struggling independent band in I know we were signed at the time, actually. Yeah, signed to an independent label.
Still struggling though.
Still struggling for sure, and then couldn't get any press attention or proper PR, or couldn't get the Irish music industry to pay any attention to us because we were just too heavy, and it was a pop-controlled industry. And suddenly, boom! America gives us the Vans Warped Tour, and we're going to be playing with Avenged Sevenfold, and My Chemical Romance and all this kind of stuff. So we were like, yeah, we love you guys in Ireland. We love Gig Smart, the music collective, all those people, but we got to go. And then we came to America, So all came from Gig.
Just going to say, you guys met a lot of bands in America as well, because I've seen, like, when you're posting now online, people are writing, I seen you in this state, and I seen you in this state. Are you guys coming back? Really want to see you. Like, how was America for you? Like, has it ever talked to the three of you together about this?
Well, it's been incredibly humbling, Morris, to see the reaction to this show. Now, when Connell and myself and Dave and Barry talked about it, we thought it'd just be, we'd play to 50 people. It'll be a cool little thing to honor Gig Smart and the leg up they gave us. Not for a second did I think that we'd hear from people all across the States chiming in about, are you going to tour again? Are you doing any plans for shows outside of Ireland? People traveling from across Europe to come and see this gig in Dublin. So it's been really humbling. And, you know, I think we've all found it, you know, Mike Got Spiked was a massive part of our lives, but it's kind of, we've consigned that to the past in many ways. You know, we've all been doing different things for the last 11 plus years. And, you know, Mike Got Spike's just been this amazing thing, but, you know, we're different people now. We all have jobs and we've done different things musically, and kids and wives and significant others and all that kind of life stuff. So I look back on Mike Got Spiked as this, as Dave alluded, this vehicle that allowed us to have the lives we have today. But it's kind of something that, not that I never thought we might play again, but it just, we hadn't really talked about it. We hadn't talked about, you know, aside from you and a few other people annoying us going one more gig type of thing. You know, it's just been something that we haven't really talked about. You have been since the day we stopped. But this, as you said, this came about very serendipitously. And it was just one of those things where this is August, that week in August will be the first time that the four of us have been in the same country at the same time. And it's by pure chance. There was no thought on our parts for that. I'm traveling back for work. Dave's going to be there for family, and Conal and Baz live in Ireland. So it's just one of those weird moments where we felt we have to do this because it's the 20th anniversary of the album that really set us on our path. And we all happen to be back in Ireland at the same time. We can't not do this. So in terms of what does this mean for the band going forward, I don't think it means anything per se at this moment, but let's see how the show goes. My perspective, and I'm only one of four, is never say never. You know, this could be great. I don't see us becoming a full-time band again, but maybe we'll play more shows sometime. I just don't know.
Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, it's all fallen into place. I think what happened here is that Morris just wished really, 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 really hard.
That could be what happened. Praying every night.
You need to get out more, bro.
Once you start, I'll be like, whiskey, whiskey, whiskey. That'll be the next thing. That'll be the next thing I'll be pushing for.
Right. Well,
that's the same. Just playing it 13 times in a row.
Have a couple of shots, and we might play that song at some point in the set.
Don't worry, Morris. You'll get your whiskey. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I see we have some comments coming in here.
Oh, you can read that
one here.
From Nines, right?
Yes, it was destined by the gods of rock.
Good old Nilo. That man there, that's Niall Steins there. He is the brainchild of Gig Smart. He is, as Conal alluded to earlier, and then he's actually organizing the show, and he was part of the record label that first signed us and released our first album, and we owe our lives right now to that man. He's an amazing guy.
Well, credit where it's due. There was also Mr. Trev Mooney and Mr. Tom Brunker, the holy trinity of Gig Smart. These three guys who just out of nowhere just decided let's take away this whole wretched pay-to-play thing that used to go on, where promoters were just screwing bands over, basically getting bands to pay through the nose to get to play a crappy place to whoever they could sell tickets to. And these three guys took it on top of themselves to just go, let's see if we can change this. And they were young guys. They were in their 20s. They just, I don't know how they did it, but they actually turned into a thriving music industry. And it's not just our success here as well. I mean, there's so many other bands, great bands, that were on that scene. And anyone who comes along to the show on the 25th is going to have the pleasure of seeing three of those bands as well. The Amazing Pinion, Popstar, and Me in the Park. Just, I say, a tip of the iceberg, just so many amazing bands that were on that particular scene at the time. But so.
On the topic actually of the scene, so I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie CBGB. It's with Alan Rickman, and it's a great movie, but it's about CBGBs, obviously, in New York, and how the owner of CBGBs. What gave it away? So the owner of CBGBs basically had these bands play in his bar, and they had no other places to play in New York. New York was not a place that young bands could go and play. And then he opened his doors and basically created this scene that launched the careers of Television, the first punk rock band, who I love. Who else? Blondie, the Ramones, and David Byrne, and what's David Byrne's band again? Talking Heads. So like that's 4 of the bands that came out of there, and it absolutely exploded. But when I was watching that movie, I was really taken aback that we had the same thing. We just had it in Dublin, and we had no financial backing. So he basically let the A&R people into his bar for free and gave them free booze and free coke, and then they would sign all these bands. We didn't have that. That's the only thing that we didn't have. If you look at that movie and you see what we went through, it was virtually the same thing, just with Niall, Trev, and Tom making all of that happen, like the owner of CBGB's. And when I watched that movie, I was really like taken aback that, oh, we've kind of lived the dream, you know, in Ireland.
The Coke.
Say again?
Without the money or the Coke.
Without the money or the Coke, yeah. We lived the dream in that regard, and that would be, it was a beautiful thing, man. When we moved to LA first, there was no unity like there was in Dublin. There was just this beautiful unity in that music collective of everybody's helping each other out. And when we came to Los Angeles, the vibe was the opposite. It was, you are my opponent from the other bands. Like, your success means my success is less likely to happen. And our attitude to those guys was like, what are you talking about? You know, that's incorrect. We've already experienced it. CBGB's is the same thing. If you lift each other up, someone gets to the top and then pulls everybody up. And that really was not our experience in Los Angeles, and it left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. That's why I don't live there anymore. But we got to do that in Dublin. It was an amazing thing.
Excellent. And you guys met another band that were over there, kind of guys that I know as well, trying to do the same thing as you guys, Jekyll, and you guys kind of got together and went on the road a little bit. What was that like?
Well, first off, it was very smelly. We moved in with them. I think it was 2009. 2009, we moved into a house with them. They were good enough to put us up because we had no place to live, and our management, we just landed ourselves major management. A guy who was managing Dead Kennedys and Jonathan Butler and stuff. And he said, you got to move to Los Angeles. And we were like, how are we going to do that? We make our money by touring. And he said, sorry, guys, you got to move to Los Angeles. So we called the Jekyll guys up and they said, sure, come live with us. And so it was 7 of us in a house in San Fernando Valley, which is like North Hollywood, which is hot. And they had forest fires that year, and we could see the forest fires from our house. And I think it was 115 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 45 degrees centigrade. And we had no AC in the house, just fans. We used to we set up a hose outside in the patio that just sprayed down on top of us, and we just turn it on, walk out, get completely drenched, and then be dry 45 minutes later. So it was a hot, sweaty affair.
Well, yeah, good guys.
Excellent.
Definitely.
For people, yeah,
they were good enough to. So you say we met them. We actually no, we totally moved in with them, and they were great enough to let us. Well, I suppose we split the rent. It made sense for struggling musicians to share a house. But we played gigs together, or we'd split gear. We got rehearsal rooms together. We kind of pooled our resources to try and make it easier on all of us. And, you know, whenever they were playing, we'd come along and cheer them on, and vice versa. Because, like Dave was alluding to, in LA, it was very hard to get a crowd to kind of get a following. And this goes back to the Gig Smart thing as well, where bands would go to see their contemporaries play and stand up the front and cheer them on rather than stab them in the back, metaphorically. So we kind of tried to start that in LA with Jekyll and with some other musical acts that had come from Ireland to try and make their way. We tried to build a community there with those two and say, listen, if we go to each other's shows, if we cheer each other on, maybe people think, you know, a crowd draws a crowd, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't kick off. Sorry.
For people that are wondering, and I'll start with Gavin on this and work my way down to you then, David, like what are you doing now in your life in terms of music, in terms of what you guys are up to? Because I know you're all doing different things in different parts of the world.
Musically, I'm not up to a huge amount, to be honest. I play in a cover band, play bass guitar and sing in a cover band. It's pretty low key. I mean, we have a lot of fun.
Hey, sorry, it's not low key. He's played to a stadium of like 18,000 people with that band.
Weren't there to see him though?
That's a total scurrilous lie, Dave. We have not played.
No, it's not. I saw the footage of it, man. Anyway,
I don't think it was 18,000 people, but thank you for bigging me up. I appreciate it. Morris, it's I'm in a position in my life. I've been married over 10 years and I have 2 young kids. So I have a good job. I work at a university in Indiana near Chicago. And I'm blessed. I have a great job and good prospects. And I have a really nice life in Indiana. Cost of living's not too bad and close to Chicago when I need to get home. I'm actually back in Ireland. I just got landed in the country earlier today. So I'm sitting in my parents' kitchen right now. Jet lagged to be damned, but still trying to stay awake. I think I'm up 28, 30 hours at this point, but it's all good. The band I play in is called the Geriophonics Band, but as I said, it's all covers. I kind of, not that I lost the fire for original music or anything like that. I got tired. After Mike got spiked, I joined another band with a bunch of incredible musicians, and on paper, I thought it was going to be a really excellent, interesting, popular type of thing we were doing, but it just didn't resonate. So after that, I suppose I just was jaded and tired by it. So I just do covers completely now. Who knows what I might get back into at another point in my life, but right now I'm just playing 10 to 20 shows a year at most, and it's cool. It's low key. We've learned a repertoire of music. And we barely rehearse. We just play shows, and it pays well, and it's fun. It keeps my chops somewhat ticking over. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. Dave?
Me. So I'm similar to Gavin. I'm an electrical contractor. I live in wine country outside San Francisco, about an hour east of San Fran. And musically, what do I do? I still play like a lunatic all the time. I can't do 6 to 9 hours a day like I used to, but I mean, I did 10 hours last week in practicing for this gig. I don't have kids, so and I don't have a wife, so I'm a very happy solo individual, and I play with my uncle. So when Mike Got Spike split, I was kind of faced with the question, which was, why do I play music exactly? And upon examination, it was to play with family and friends. And so I've moved up here. My uncle's 65. He likes playing classic rock. He's a great singer, guitar player. And so I play in his band now, playing classic rock, which is cool. And then I have a local bar that I play at every week, maybe every second week. I go down to the open jam, and I know a lot of the guys there, and we'll throw something together, put a load of guys on stage and just have an open jam kind of situation, which is very, very nice. And I sing, I play guitar as well, so I can get up there and sing and have a good time for an evening. Play drums with people, and then there's sort of a significant group of friends that I have in LA and up here who I like to play with and occasionally go down to, who are just fabulous musicians. So I occasionally do that too. And then I'm doing a little bit of work for this beautiful opera singer that I'm seeing down in Los Angeles, who's an original artist. And she's her name is Geeta Novotny, and she's played with Andy Summers, and she's kind of like a high level opera singer. And so she has me play drums on her recordings and write with her as well. So still doing a little bit of originals, but not my own originals, because when Mike Got Spike split, I did go off and try and be a lead singer in a band and wrote a load of songs and put a band together and stuff, and who were really good musicians. But at the end of the day, the music that I wrote, I just thought it was okay. nothing really excited me, and it was not near as good as Mike Got Spiked. And at the end of the day, I just had to acknowledge that writing music no longer makes me happy. And so I'm just focused on being a musician, and being a musician and getting better as a musician is a beautiful way to experience music. And it doesn't involve any of the heartache that being an artist and a songwriter takes. I don't want that anymore. I'm not interested. So just, having music be something light and something that makes me happy with no anchors anymore. That's the way I approach music now.
Nice. Connell?
Wow, yeah, kind of similar. When the band kind of dissolved, fizzled out, I'm not sure. We kind of went out more with a whimper than a bang back in 2012. But I was kind of, again, like the rest of the lads, I'm sure, was in a kind of a limbo state. What am I doing? What do I do here? I got into playing with cover bands and wedding entertainment, but funny enough, I dropped 2 strings because you find that there's too many bloody guitar players in this country. So, like Gavin, I picked up the bass, and I played bass guitar in a wedding band for several years. I still actually play bass occasionally. Occasionally I dip in with the Queen tribute, which features Tom Brunkard of Gig Smart fame as Brian May, so I'm his John Deacon. But those guys were too busy for me. I was playing with them full time, but they play every bloody weekend. I'm working full time. I have a wonderful job there, love. So I prefer to just play when I want to. So I dip in with them occasionally. I also play with the fantastic Seattle Grunge Experience, again on bass. But we do that just for fun. Because the guys, like I said, we're all middle-aged. We all have solid jobs. Some of us have wives and kids. We're not hard touring anymore. It's like we only play as many gigs as we want to. So we might only do like 10 or 15 gigs a year. A little bit of fun, maybe a little bit of pocket money. But definitely the days of 6 gigs a week, living in a van, smelling each other's socks. I'm happy to leave that part of the job behind, to tell you the truth. I also occasionally play with my lovely fiance. We have an acoustic duo. We haven't done that in a little while, but we had a couple of nice little arrangements we do. She's a fantastic singer, and we were called Nomad Rush. But again, like Gavin, like Dave, it's now something I just do for fun. It's a hobby. It's something to just do for joy, and that is the kind of joy of it. We spent years honing our craft, learning how to be musicians, struggling. It got to a stage where the struggle was so real, we began to not enjoy it anymore. So now it's like, right, I've got my job, and when I'm finished work, I can have my glass of wine, I can pick up a guitar and just play for fun. There's no pressure, there's no need to go, how am I going to make this thing pay my rent? It's like, no, this is just what music should be, for joy.
It's interesting you say that, Connell, because as we're prepping for this gig for August, I've been very cognizant of the fact of not trying to make this too businessy and too formal. Let's just play a show and have some fun, but you have to put some rigor around what you're doing as well. So I've been personally, I know I can be a bit controlling at times. So personally, I've been very cognizant of that, kind of going, well, yeah, let's see what we can do, and we'll do this, we'll do that. So.
Well, I don't think you're out. Go ahead.
I've been practicing my balls off for the last 2 weeks since we heard about this gig. So yeah, this guitar has been hanging on a wall since I moved into this house. I had to knock the cobwebs off, and so how do I play this thing plugged in again? But yeah, the idea is I'm overjoyed that we're doing this, but at the same time, yeah, I'll leave the business to better business minds. I'm more of the show up and play kind of mindset. let the promotion, let the selling T-shirts and all of that go to people who are hated less than I do.
Actually, on that topic of the business, I find that what were we doing in Mike Got Spiked? We were running a successful small business. That's what we were doing. And the business lessons that I learned from that absolutely apply to my own business now, which is another successful small business, So that was another aspect of Mike Got Spiked that is not to be understated. The fact that it taught us business and how it works. So as Gavin says, when we agreed to this gig, immediately we started thinking business wise. That is myself and Gavin were the business guys in the band.
I didn't
was that cock out guy.
I don't think you're under any pressure at all, guys. It's a $5. Jesus, you should be charging a bit more than that.
We probably should have. It was kind of the idea was 2003 kind of line up 2003 prices, and it's not about making money. It's
I bought 3 tickets anyway for myself.
3? Could you not have gotten 4?
I'll get another 3 next week.
There you go.
Be outside fucking scalping them.
There's the businessman.
Heartening to see that we got a quick update from the venue that they're heading towards 50% sold already after a week and a half or whatever it is. So that's been really humbling to see that. Obviously, great lineup of bands, as Conal mentioned. We've played with all of those guys innumerable times over the years, but it's so apropos to have a 20-year reunion with all of those bands. It just wouldn't make sense to have like a new lineup of acts or whatever. So very excited about it.
And to see the old crew. Oh yeah, that has me so excited. Like that's the biggest thing. The biggest positive thing that came from Mike Got Spiked was when the band split. The notion that we weren't going to see the people that we would see all the time anymore. That was one of the hardest parts, because we were kind of this trunk of this very positive tree that's, loads of people met each other because of our music and going to see us play and became lifelong friends with each other and are, great friends with us. So the idea of, seeing Jenny and Laura up the front and, Chris jumping around in the background, screaming his head off at me and stuff is, just fills me with joy, to have a reason to get everybody back together again. That whole crew that existed around Mike Got Spiked. That for me, that was the biggest and best part of being in the band. I actually hated the music industry, and I did hate the business side of things, even though apparently we were good at it. I hated that side of things. I was all about. We never wanted to be on a magazine cover. We never needed to be, rock stars like Kurt Cobain. That was never our thing. For us, it was always about getting to play to a bigger audience. It's all about playing live and all about the audience and the people. At the end of the day, when you're touring and you're playing the same set every night, the only thing that's different about every gig is the audience, And we're blessed to say that I felt that we had an amazing audience and they were our friends. These people are our friends. So I'm looking forward to seeing all my old mates.
Yep. Can we talk about the single you guys put together a couple of years back? Because obviously that kind of came out of the blue, and I know it was something personal for the three of you as well. Like it was kind of surprising to people when it went up to My Friend Tim. So one of you guys want to just explain the story behind that? It's a nice story.
I suppose I'll give this one to Dave as well, because go for it.
Oh, okay. Gavin, you want to take it now?
Okay. Well, Conal wrote the music, and you're closest with Tim, so I'm definitely not taking it.
All right. So we have a friend, Tim Schluter. He lives in Ohio, and he is the most generous man that we ever met. On the second gig that we ever played in the United States was in Elyria, Ohio, I think. At the Spot, wasn't it? The Spot?
That's correct, yeah.
And, we had a policy, all right, lads, make sure you're warmed up, because as soon as we start playing, we all go as absolutely mad as you can possibly go. And so I click it in, click, 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 and we start rocking. And Gavin immediately goes so mad that he falls over and hits his knee on a wedge and breaks his kneecap. Okay, kneecap. Anyway, so Gavin breaks his kneecap and finishes the gig going into shock on stage like a rock and roll hero, like Dave Grohl, basically. And there's this gentleman in the audience, and he's been looking at Gavin, and he's noticed that Gavin's injured. And so afterwards, he comes up and he says, "Are you okay?" Turns out that he used to be a paramedic, I think. Anyway, he looked after us. I mean, we had to, obviously cancel the few dates we have after that. And he said, "I'll put you guys up in my nature preserve." So so he basically gave us cots, and he put us up in his nature preserve. When I say nature preserve, I mean preserve nature on the walls. It was a gun club.
The
So you're talking about
League, right?
So yeah, that's right. I forgot that. Yeah. So you had the four of us and those three guys had never fired guns. I grew up on a farm, so I'd fired guns. But as soon as he found out the next day that we hadn't fired guns, he made this phone call. He goes, "Hey, I got 4 Irish fellas here, never fired guns before. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, bring them all." And then the next day they showed up with 18 guns, was it 18 guns they showed up with, and like stacks of beer. And then Gavin is in a wheelchair with his leg in a cast, and Tim had brought him to the hospital and stuff, so he's there in his cast, drinking a beer as we're blowing up stuff with shotguns, and it was a lot of fun, a little surreal, but that was kind of the level of hospitality we received from him. He was the real epitome of American hospitality. I realize we're white and we're Irish, and it's good to be Irish in America, but the level of hospitality we've received in America is just astounding. I can't even describe how it was, really. Well, I suppose I am describing it. Anyway, Tim,
in great detail, because that's basically the long version of the first verse of that song.
Yes. So basically, Tim looked after us for the years that we were touring. After that, anytime we ended up in his part of the world, he would put us up for free. And at one point, he just gave us $1,000. Here's $1,000 towards the cause. And we're like, we can't accept this. And he said, if you don't accept it, I will be highly offended. And so we had to accept $1,000 from him. Just an incredibly generous man. Anyway, a couple of years ago, he was diagnosed with cancer, and we felt that we wanted to tell the world about his generosity and how America has something to be proud of in people like him. And so that's why we came together to put that song together. So Conal actually had the music already written and ready to go. And so it was, we did it across the water from each other and just put it all together, wrote it and threw it out there. And then we just did it as a once off. It wasn't something that we were going to pursue afterwards. We did it purely as a tribute to the man. And thankfully he's still alive. Actually, he's doing okay. He still has cancer, but he's doing okay.
Yeah, he's a great man. I also like to throw another little shout out in there as well, because this was a tune that we, as Dave said, did transatlantically on our own little laptops and recording devices. And it sounded a bit rough when it was done. But thankfully, Mick Richards, Track Mix Studios, who's always been a great advocate of Michael Spike, said, "Listen, send me what you got and I'll mix it for you." And it came back sounding fucking pretty good. So big up to Mick. Still amazing engineer. If you play rock or metal and want a decent recording, he's the man to go to. Mick Richards, Track Mix Recording Studios. Give him a shout. We did all our demos there. Some of the stuff he mixed. Red to Blue, actually, that's on the last album. That was his mix.
Time Bomb as well.
Time Bomb too. Yeah. But I mean, the original recordings we did for the CD 20 years ago, that was Mick as well. So definitely, if you want to sound good, you play rock, metal, one recording, check him out.
What's the Gavin? We're on Spotify and YouTube, and we do have some recordings by him on there. So yeah, it's Red to Blue, Time Bomb, and then we've got some more others as well. We've got
the Charm Offensive sessions were all done there. That's an EP we did in 2009.
That's the one. The Charm Offensive sessions. Yeah, so that's on our Spotify and check that out. I mean, some of the best recordings we ever did.
There's some on all the demos are on the Bandcamp page as well for anyone who wants to hear like Virus Kiss, and Speechless, 5 Second Heaven demos, that stuff.
Yeah, I'm guessing CDs won't be on sale at this show, but I'm sure a few people might be looking for T-shirts. Any update?
Well, we've plenty of No Is Not an Answer CDs if anyone wants them, so don't worry about that.
Okay.
And yeah, we're looking into the possibility of doing some shirts for the show. It's one of those things where it's, as Connell said, it's a fine line between enjoying the show for what it is, playing a show and having fun, and then worrying about business and trying to get designs and creating T-shirts and pricing them and dealing with inventory and profit and loss and all that stuff. So it's kind of like do we want to get into all of that for one show? Maybe.
Yeah, and then what to do with all the thousands of unsold ones? Like the CDs. we're going to just take a load of old album CDs. We're going to fashion them into like a kind of a bulletproof vest kind of shirt that you can buy for the price of 12 CDs.
You need another glass of wine there, buddy. I don't think you
just super glued to a white, just the album super glued to a white T-shirt, like.
He looks so artistic down there, doesn't he?
Yeah, and just writing the label in pen, just do not wash.
Yeah.
Or do. I don't care. You paid for it. Do what you want with it.
It's a free country.
In terms of set list then and stuff like that, how long are you guys playing, and what kind of mix are you gonna throw into this, or has that been decided?
We're still ironing all that out. We have a 45-50 minute set, which is back when we were still playing full time. That was us just getting warmed up. But we're all getting on in age now, and we haven't done anything that's crazy. And I might sound like I'm being facetious, but the reality is that I haven't thrown my body around as violently as I did in Mike Got Spiked since 2012, right? So we're going to have 1 or 2 rehearsals max before the show, and it's going to be a case of we're all professionals. We all expect that when we show up in that rehearsal room, it's going to sound pretty good after 1 or 2 run-throughs, but still you never know, right? So 45 minutes is what we're looking at. I think in terms of the set list, that's always been Connell's arena, and we're kind of leaving it to him to do it. But it'll have if our fans were to write a set list, I think it'll probably be much like what we'll perform on the night.
Yeah. The hits.
Yeah, all killer, no filler. I did have to look at this because, funny enough, we were sent a set list that we played before we went to America. This was about 2.5 hours long. Going, here's for ideas. Like, Jesus Christ, did we really play that long?
I know.
A lot of deep cuts you probably won't hear. I'd had a look at our back catalogue. I had to be kind of ruthless, going, listen, it's not that long a set. We can only really include the ones we really have to play, the real, I don't know if crowd pleasers is the word, but the ones that have always got the best response, the ones that we enjoy playing the most. I'm sure there's going to be a few people going, oh, I wish you played this song, or I wish you played that song. But, we'll do what we can. We can't please everyone. So I decided instead I'm going to piss everyone off and play the songs that everyone hates.
Just like old times.
And they can't give out. They can't give out then, because it's only a $5. You can do what you want.
Well, very true, exactly. Right? I mean, there's, Morris is each one of us has songs that are near and dear to our hearts, whether we wrote them ourselves or they just, spark a memory of that moment in time. That we'd love to play many of those ones that maybe are fringe, but we just can't. You've got to pick the ones that resonated the most, that people listen to the most, that we always played the most, and I think intrinsically we have a good sense of that, and the songs kind of pick themselves really without much ado.
How much are you guys looking forward to this?
I've thought a little out.
Well, like I said, 10 hours of practice last week, which is not something I've done since the band. I virtually stopped playing drums for a few years afterwards. I just sort of did the basic maintenance, and then in 2021, after I filed for divorce, I got back on the drums and started getting myself back in shape. It's 2021, so but then, you're talking a few hours a week kind of thing. Whereas last week I was 10 hours a week, which I enjoyed thoroughly, and I was like, oh, I used to love this. So yeah, it has me fired up for sure. And also, I meant to, obviously when you're playing other people's music, then you're not using your style. So we all spent the 14 years that we were playing together honing the specific styles. And when Mike Got Spike split, I basically abandoned that. I abandoned, first off, being a drummer in my head, I guess. I was like, I want to be a singer guitar player. So I abandoned that. And then also kind of abandoned my style. And then, always meant to sort of go back and do a review of the songs to remind me what my style was, and now I'm finally doing it, because I haven't had a reason to do it until now. And I'm sort of like, oh, I like these parts. I like the way I play drums and the way I think about playing drums. And it's definitely fired me up.
Yeah, I've something similar on that, in that revisiting these songs after so long, it is kind of liberating, because for like Gavin, like Dave, playing covers for so long, you start to emulate other people, you start to adopt other people's styles, and it is a great actual way to build yourself as a musician, learning other people's songs. And the experience I got from that, I think, has made me a better musician. But now coming back to the songs we wrote 15, 20 years ago and rediscovering my own voice, it's a kind of a double-edged sword. In the one hand, it's like, yes, I finally feel like me again. On the other hand, it's like, why did I make these bloody songs so hard to play? What a bastard I was back then.
You're still a bastard.
Yeah, but
beautiful bastard.
There definitely was that thing at the time. I think I was, when writing these songs. I'll admit it. That we did sometimes get clever for the sake of being clever, and some of the songs are difficult just for the sake of, I pity the poor bastard who has to cover this, never realizing that poor bastard would be me 20 years later.
Yeah, there's definitely been moments of that, when Gavin put out the first list of songs, Not My Problem was on there, which is the most difficult drum song I ever wrote. And I was like, yeah, I'm not sure that, this one should be in the set list in this format. And he was like, is that because you're intimidated by it, Dave? And I was like, I definitely am intimidated by it, but I welcome it. But I don't think it's right for this moment. But yes, I welcome the intimidation of trying to play the stuff that I wrote many, many years ago.
Dave, you've just given away a song we're not going to play, man.
We're not playing that one. Sorry. But I have to say I'm a better musician now. But just some of the things that I used to be like, I don't play double bass pedals. I haven't played double bass pedals in 10 years, 11 years. 11 years, yeah. And so I still had them in the attic, and I was like, oh, I have to break down the double bass pedals, and then set them up on the kit. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to be awful on them. And actually, I was all right. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So
I did have to go up in the attic and dust off some old effects pedals that hadn't been used in over a decade as well.
A decade as well, yeah. At least we still have them. Right.
Well, there was that, because I just didn't think anyone wanted to buy them because they were in shit condition. Otherwise they would have been on done deal like a decade ago.
Yeah.
Well, also, I didn't want all the weirdos from Dundee knowing where I live, so that's why I just didn't put them up.
There you go. Smart thinking.
Dark place. There's gonna be people that probably show up at this gig that have never seen you guys before as well. So there might be room there for new fans. I know there's gonna be people going that will, like myself and people that have seen you over the years. But then there's an opportunity that even more new people will be introduced to your music, which is kind of exciting, I suppose, after so long, maybe.
And the children of the people who were our fans, because obviously we're older now, and so are our audience. And people who were 14 when they started seeing us first, you know, are now 34 and have kids and play our music to their kids. And I thought that was just beautiful, you know, that someone had posted that. I was like, my kids love Caveat Emptor. And I was like, what? You know, love that.
One nice thing I noticed that somebody said the reason why we're keeping the fee down to a $5 was because everyone's going to need to pay babysitters.
That's fair enough.
You're not wrong.
I've been to a few club hells, and Helmet that you guys know was there, and I'd be always asking, go on, play it all Mike Got Spike song, and he always did, in fairness to him.
Oh, good man, Helmet.
That still blows my mind that, you know, Helmet's a great friend. He's been a great collaborator with Mike Got Spike for designs, for posters. And he's, you know, to be honest, he helped the notoriety of Mike Got Spiked in the beginning because he was so in with that Blast community and started shit talking us on the Blast forums about how we'd ripped off Mr. Bungle. And that just helped people want to listen to what we were doing. So we actually owe him a great debt of gratitude for all of that. And I mean, he apologized profusely over the years for all of that pseudo controversy, which we took in stride. We were like, if people are shit talking us, we're doing something right. You know, that's a good thing. But
actually, we're going to ask him to join us on stage as keyboardist, computer keyboard, that is. He's going to be live tweeting about how shit we are the whole way through it. It's going to be fantastic.
But the point I was trying to make was that anytime I haven't been at a club hell or any of the Dublin club rock and metal nights in 15 years, but anytime I was there and you hear one of your own songs sandwiched in between Limp Bizkit or Fate No More or Linkin Park or whatever it is, and some people actually know it, it's just so incredibly humbling and almost. I always was nearly embarrassed in a sense, not embarrassed by the music, but kind of being there while a song that I had written a part of or whatever was being played. Like, how do you look when your song comes on? You're supposed to be like, yeah, that's fucking me, or are you just like supposed to be all cool and aloof? Right? So I never really understood what you did in those moments because
that's when you go out for a cigarette.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, Helmet and so many other people like yourself and a myriad of folks that we probably don't even know all that well who've supported us on digital radio, on terrestrial radio, all of the various media outlets and vehicles. You know, we're so grateful and thankful to all of those folks. And that's the beauty of music, right? The band hasn't played in over a decade, yet our music, people still listen to it. And we, as I said, people like yourself are always asking us, when are you going to do another show? When are you going to get back together? And it's just incredibly humbling, gratifying, satisfying that we were 4 dudes who wanted to play music and wrote the shit that we thought was cool. We never did it because we thought we were going to get into the charts or get signed or be any of that. We wanted to play music. We wanted to tour the world. And we got to do some of that. The fact that people liked it was just incredible along the way. And just, yeah, it's incredibly, as I said, humbling. I'm repeating myself, but so humbling to think that something we did resonated and impacted people, like different people that Dave and the rest of us met along the way who took up drums because they saw Dave play, or took up guitar, or bought whammy pedals because they saw what Connell was doing with his board. I mean, that stuff is just incredible. And it shows that you can make a difference, whether your band becomes monstrously famous or whether you just have, modest success. You can be a role model, you can be a leader, you can have a positive impact in the world. And to think about that, I think that's, aside from all the great personal experiences, when I reflect on Mike Got Spiked, I think that's probably the most rewarding piece of it, is that I know many famous people today who got into music, and I say that with all humility, got into music because they saw us along the way and would probably list us as influences. And that is just incredible.
Picture this.
Cliff.
The drummer. Yeah, Cliff and Jimmy. Yeah. And actually, on the topic of inspiring people, like, don't get me wrong, Jimmy's a dramatically better drummer than I will ever be. And even when I saw him when he was 8 years old, he was playing like Metallica 1. I was like, what's happening? But when I saw him do a drum solo with Picture This and to like 18,000 people, I was like, oh, I taught him that. And he's playing it way better than I could play it, but using sort of techniques that were in my songs, and then even covering my drum parts and then making his own drum parts and putting them on YouTube, and then having the tens of thousands of views, playing one of our songs is amazing. So yeah, that really fills me with joy and makes you feel like you weren't wasting your time by spending all those hours practicing and writing and putting it out there, especially when people say, Caveat Emptor is in my top 10 favorite albums of all time, really helped me through a bad patch. And I'm like, wow, well, that was like Alice in Chains for me. So we're Alice in Chains. The way Alice in Chains was to me is the way Mike Got Spiked is to some people. Even just to one person, that still humbles me. You never mind, more than that.
And when you look at it like that, I'm really happy. I think we achieved just the right amount of success. Did we, at the time when we were breaking up, it was like, it could have gone, we never made it big, we never achieved the dream, playing stadiums, making millions, living in mansions, but we look back at it, that's not really what I want, I mean, I look at, I said this to Dave actually the last time we met in Dublin, when unfortunately one of our idols, Chris Cornell, had left the world, and it's like, there was a man who had everything we thought we wanted. He was world famous, amazingly talented, but miserable enough to eventually take his own life. Like, is fame and fortune really, is it what you want, or is it a curse? Did we actually achieve just the right amount where we've influenced some people, we had a great time doing it, but I can walk down the street in my hometown and nobody knows who the fuck I am?
Yeah, and that's beautiful though. That's beautiful because being in the public eye is a miserable affair. And I look at what it is to be a successful musician now, and I'm just like, makes me want to throw up. I have no interest in it whatsoever. That was never my vision of our success. Was always Nirvana, and being a real band playing real music to a large audience. That's what it was all about. Not being in the public eye. So sorry, Nirvana is the bad one to say, but
bad example there.
Yeah, they were definitely in the public eye and definitely on magazines and all that sort of shit. And we were never interested in that stuff ever. Still not. Don't understand it. Like, get away from me. Leave me my private life. So the idea of being a public figure does not float any boats for me at all. It's all about playing to an audience.
Renown rather than fame, I suppose.
Or just being in uniting a room full of people in the joy of music. There it is.
And just what I have there, I'm going to go back to something we were talking about earlier as well, because Helmut, there is one thing that I really have to thank him for as well, that he did for us back in the day. He did his best. He actually lived in the same house as me for a while, and he did his best to try and introduce me to a singer that he knew I should really work with. And we met, and we didn't form a band. No, she's going to marry me. But thank you very much for introducing me to my beautiful fiance, who is probably giggling in another room now. But that was the other thing, I suppose, because when I was a teenager, I thought, well, maybe if I learn to play guitars, it'll get me popular with the girls. Well, with the only one that matters. So thank you.
There you go.
Beautiful. So I got some good news and I got some bad news for you, Gavin, because you referenced it earlier. So the good news is I was talking to Niall and we've got an after party sorted. So we're gonna do like a, I don't know, is it official, unofficial after party up in the Pillar Bar afterwards, but we might play some of your songs that night. That could be the only thing. So get a packet of cigarettes.
That's right. I'm probably too cool to show up to the after party, dude.
You'd be grand. But guys, one last thing before we finish anyway, like for people that haven't seen you before and people that obviously have seen you before over the years, what can they expect going into this show, or do you even know?
They can see a bunch of old farts entering midlife crisis trying to reclaim their former glory.
Way to sell it, man. From my perspective, it's going to be interesting, Morris, because the lads alluded to it a little bit earlier, where they were saying that because of the cover music, you grow, your style evolves, and I feel the same. I can't remember the last time I screamed. So when we get into a rehearsal room in August, I'm gonna have to make sure I can do that stuff, because I've really been focusing on singing more so than the shouting and screaming stuff. But I'm excited. I feel like I'm a much better musician than I was when Mike Got Spike called it a day. So I feel like I'm up to the challenge. But it's different doing this stuff when you're in your 40s versus your early 30s. So I'm excited. It's a 45-minute set. We're going to go balls to the wall, and we'll be, paying for it the next day, no doubt. But whatever, it's that's the price of immortality, right? Man, did Dave just leave? He got so pissed off with what
Look at Niall. Niall's after putting in a super chat. I'm gonna have to buy him a load of beers now, because YouTube take 52% of the money. He's left in $23.99 there. Appreciate that, man. But they always take 50% of the money. I kind of advise against people leaving super chats. So I'm gonna buy Niall a couple of drinks when I get there.
That's amazing. Good man.
But thanks.
That man's got deep pockets.
Oh, he's back.
Guess who's back? Davey's back. Davey's back.
You need to recharge your phone there, did you?
My phone said it's getting very hot. Anyway. Vanessa Monaghan, Nessie, is going to be interviewing us on RTE on the London Ear pretty soon as well. We'll let you guys know when that is. It'll be on our Facebook page. Which is awesome. So people looking after us again, good people. Nice to see them and helping us out even now. We appreciate everybody.
And especially you, Morris. Thank you so much for having us here. I mean, I've seen your face in the crowd at the majority of the gigs we played. You were always there. Super fan, if I may say so. But thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to have this chat with you and with the land of YouTube as well.
Yeah, it's not as big as RTE, but but would be grand.
Not as big as RTE.
I've got a memory of you, Connell. Myself and my friend Kevin, he's coming with me, and we drank a bottle of tequila one night and went to see your show in the Mez.
You remember that?
Yes, I do remember. This is what I remember about it, and you might recall this as well. We drank a full bottle of tequila, went to the Mez. I went to the bar. I think I ordered 2 whiskeys and Coke or 2 Captain Morgans and Coke. I took a sip, and I was like, "Nah," and I handed the 2 of them to you. That's my memory of that show.
I don't think Connell remembers it.
You remember more after a bottle of tequila than I remember after 2 whatever they were in Coke.
I remember putting my hand on stage and just trying to steal the set list. So make sure there's loads of set lists there, will you?
Sure. I will see if I can.
There'll be at least 4.
Steal some stationery at work and print off some extra copies or whatever. Handwritten just for you.
Okay.
You guys obviously went over the details of the gig before we go.
Yeah, I said you'd just be talking smut and wearing Speedo.
Just like the old days. Yeah.
So tickets for the gig are available under this in the link at this video. And Dave, you're gonna sell it.
Yeah, we're doing the grand social in Dublin on August the 25th, which is a Friday. The doors are going to be opening at 7 a.m. and that's when you want to be there because the first band, Pinions, is on at 7:30. So we gotta get in the door, and we're on. I think we're on last, and so we're probably on at what time, Gavin? Do you think it was like 9:30?
9:30, so thereabouts.
But yeah, do get there. Get there at 7 o'clock because the first band on, Pinion, brilliant band, pop punk, fantasticness. You're going to love them. Get there to see them. Popstar, Me in the Park, 2 amazing bands. You know, this is not just about us. This is about Gig Smart, and these are just 4 of the amazing bands from that scene. But do get there if you can. I know a lot of people there are probably in their 40s. They'll probably be there for 7. They'll see Pinion, then they'll go home because it's getting late. But try and stick around for long enough to see us, you know.
That's a great point, Donald, because this is not our show. It's a Gig Smart show that we happen to be partaking in. So make sure you all show up to see the other amazing bands. I mean, I always love
it's all about. Yeah,
exactly.
Gig Smart was always about bands supporting other bands. I'll be there. I'll be in the front row for Pinion Popstar, and me in the park. I'll be fucking going, hell yeah! It's been too long since I heard these guys play. So be there with me.
Excellent.
Thanks, Morris.
Excellent, lads.
We appreciate you, man.
I
Rock and roll.
I'll see you on the 25th of August. So, gentlemen, thanks a lot for tonight. Thanks to everyone who watched it, and get your tickets for the gig. They're nearly gone. Halfway there, guys. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother.
Cheers,
all right,
boys.
Take it easy, guys.